Hello everyone. This is Tobi from the Phuket Meditation Center, and you're listening to the Dharana Meditation Podcast. Let's sit together, calm the busy mind, and explore topics concerning character development, meditative training, and deeper self-knowledge. We begin by sitting upright. Suspend the head from above. Let your body be relaxed, at ease. Throughout the practice, try to keep the posture as still as possible. We breathe in a way that feels good, comfortable. Let your breath settle on its own. Stay open to whatever is, allow it to be just the way it is. Nothing to change or fix, nothing to manage or control. Just quietly sitting, breathing in a way that feels good. Giving your body and mind some space to settle down. Like that, let your mind gradually fill the body, breathing in, feeling the body. And as you breathe out, notice how the body responds by softening, releasing tension. Naturally. Also know that it's perfectly normal to get distracted. The mind wanders into the future or the past, thinking about this and that. Every time you notice that, come back to just this one breath. Breathing in, feeling the body. Breathing out, notice, release. If you notice any discomforts in your body, let your breath flow through or around those discomforts, noticing how these little knots in the body gradually unwind while you're breathing out. You may find that it's quite okay to stay with some feelings that are initially uncomfortable and work with them in stillness, rather than immediately reacting, immediately trying to fix it, immediately trying to get out of it. We're not escaping, we're seeing, caring, softening, allowing. finding some comfort, softness, openness around the way it is. Perhaps even experiencing the entire body as if it is made out of breath. Like a subtle mist of sensations moving with each and every breath. Once you find everything has settled somewhat, then just rest in presence, knowing where the attention goes, knowing what is happening while it is happening in real time, hearing, feeling, thinking. Where is my attention right now? And keep it simple, like I just did. Hearing, feeling, or thinking. An example of being too complex would be, I'm feeling incredibly happy right now, and I really like that feeling. It feels really, really good. Or I'm feeling so lonely right now. Or my knees are killing me, or something like that. It's too much. Just feeling is enough. Because that's what it actually is. Sensations moving through the body like wind moving through a room. The same goes for sound. Rather than hearing voices outside or listening to the water fountain, just hearing is enough. Experience of sound. Notice how naturally the attention moves from hearing to feeling, from feeling to thinking, back to hearing, without any effort. We're not controlling the attention. We're not trying to focus on something. Instead, just knowing where it goes. It's a bit like being a security cam that clearly sees what is going on, but it doesn't interfere. Just observing how the attention moves from room to room in the house of the senses. The more present you become, the more you will see how fast the attention is moving. From object to object. Eventually, there's no more words. No more thoughts. Because the time it takes to formulate a sentence, to label something, your attention already has moved on to the next object. So the more present you become, the less the mind thinks. In true presence, there's no delay, no echo in the mind. Like a mirror that reflects immediately what's in front of it, without any narrative or judgment. Be directly connected to life without any fantasy or any memory. Just knowing what is right now, this split second. while resting in this state of presence, you can slowly open your eyes and stretch your body a bit, not abandoning what we have cultivated here. Let it bleed into the rest of the day. Good morning, everyone. So today I received a question from one of the students who have been here with us about 10 years ago during our retreat. Let's have a look at that. So he says, "Hi Tobi, I hope you've been well. I visited Phuket Center about 10 years ago, and it was genuinely a life-changing experience. While I haven't always been as diligent with my meditation practice, I still return to it when life feels overwhelming. Also really love your YouTube talks and get a lot out of them. The discussions you gave after the sessions were some of the most valuable things I took away from my time in Phuket. I've long struggled with feelings of loneliness, starting in my early teens and becoming more pronounced in adulthood. I have sometimes turned to my unhelpful coping habits, which only seem to reinforce the very loneliness I was trying to soothe. I'm 43, single, and often feel a deep longing for connection, particularly with the opposite sex. While I've had relationships, I've noticed a pattern of sabotaging them. I found myself curious how the teachings speak to human loneliness, whether it's something to be worked through, understood differently, or even accepted." Okay. So there's certainly some talk around loneliness. For example, the word loneliness epidemic. It's even, I think, considered like a public health concern, and it's something that came up more and more recently that I've noticed, and it seems to be something that has arisen or particularly become prevalent after the COVID times. People were often forced into isolation and couldn't have any kind of face-to-face connections with one another and so on. It seemed to have exacerbated the situation and maybe brought that topic of loneliness more into the forefront of society. So loneliness doesn't necessarily mean that you are alone somewhere. It does mean that you're living in isolation. You can feel quite lonely if you are together with others, for example. If you are with people that don't understand you, if you don't have a meaningful relationship, you can feel quite lonely. People are not listening to you. People are kind of living next to each other, but there's no real connection going on. There's no human connection. It's just a living next to each other. It can be very, very unsatisfying. So it's like a personal, subjective experience, a feeling inside of being lonely, being isolated, of having no connection. Now, of course, if you are on long retreats, for example, where you are alone by yourself, or if you are put into isolation in a prison or something like that, then that's really going to be very loud, the experience of being totally isolated, totally alone, and so on. But as I said, it's not necessary to be isolated from others to feel lonely. So I was thinking about maybe explore a bit whether it's only bad to feel lonely or not. Maybe there's some pros to it, some ups to it. It's not just a con. If you are feeling lonely, maybe there's something good about that. Maybe there's something good about suffering in general, even though most people might not immediately think of that. Usually when you hear the word suffering or pain, instantly you think about things being bad. This is undesired. This should not happen. I should not feel bad. I should not be uncomfortable. I should not be challenged. I should not be in this situation. That's usually our first response. But all too often I've seen that suffering is actually, it's kind of like an agent of evolution, perhaps even. If it wasn't for suffering, then there was no evolution. We wouldn't optimize things, make them better, make them more comfortable. There wouldn't be any striving to improve. That striving to improve, to make things better, arises out of suffering. It comes out of pain. Just to name an example is the fan up there or the air conditioner. That is a result of suffering, an indirect result of suffering. You're suffering the heat. You want to come up with some solution to make it better. And that inspires our creative endeavors as human beings. But not only human beings, but also animals. You look through hundreds and thousands of years of evolution, you can see how animals or even plants adapted to their environment and how they've changed over the years. Maybe developed thorns for protection, or developed certain toxins, poisons, and so on, or more like efficient jaws that can catch their prey more easily, and so on. So I think there is this almost like an intelligence in nature, and that intelligence needs feedback. It needs to have an input so it can make things better. It can improve on things. Of course, that works in a cycle, because in order to improve things, things have to be bad. Things have to be undesirable, uncomfortable. Only then can they be improved. So there is this duality between pleasure and pain, comfort and discomfort, and so on, and that simply exists in nature, just like day exists along with nights, or the in-breath along with the out-breath. For life to be there, there has to be a pulse, a rhythm. And that rhythm is always between two extremes, moving from day to night, from yin to yang, and so on. That pulse itself is life. Life is both birth and death, and everything in between. Life is the very movement of all energy that exists in this universe. And in order for something to move, it has to move between poles. So in order for us to understand loneliness, we do have to understand the opposite of it. Otherwise, we could not realize that there is loneliness. If loneliness was the only thing there was, if you would never experience any other emotion, any other thought, then you wouldn't even know that it's loneliness, because you have no contrast. For us to understand that it's daytime, we also need the night. For us to understand whether something is good, we also need to have the opposite of what is considered to be bad. So the same goes for loneliness. So the simple fact that you detect loneliness, a feeling of loneliness, means that you understand the opposite of it. Let's say the opposite of loneliness would be a feeling of being connected. So what's that feeling of connection exactly? That's what I would investigate. So if I feel lonely, I would ask myself then, what is the connection that I want? What does it mean to me to be connected? And let's see what the mind, what kind of answers would I come up with? It's not all that easy. In the beginning, it seems like, oh yeah, well, connection. But for now, to me, that's just a word. What exactly does this word point to? Connection. What do I really mean by that? Is connection two people together in a room? Is that already connection or not yet? Or not necessarily? When is it that connection actually starts? Is it when one of those two people reaches out and stretches out their hand and the other person touches their hand? Does that already constitute connection? Would that be connection if I reach out and you grab my hand? Maybe not necessarily. Maybe it's not connection. Maybe it's complete disconnection, like two politicians that hate each other, but they have to do the handshake for the picture. They wouldn't say, we are connected. Maybe they say it for the press, but they don't say it because that's their actual sense, like we are connected. So what is this connection? Is it having common interests? Like say, I love collecting coins. And you too, you love collecting coins. Now, is that connection? Well, it could be, but again, we have to say not necessarily. What is it that connects us? For connection to exist, there have to be two elements that somehow mingle, that come together. That there's a bridge between two elements. To feel a sense of connection. So you already see it's maybe not that simple. To the mind, it actually looks very simple. Well, I'm feeling lonely. I want to be connected. But if you investigate more deeply, turns out that things are quite complex. Let's look at the opposite then of connection, loneliness. What exactly is loneliness? Well, there is a sensation in my body that I'm feeling, and the mind is labeling that particular sensation as loneliness. But what is causing that particular sensation, and what is causing that labeling? Also, there is the element of judgment of the mind. Loneliness, good, or loneliness, bad. For example, someone goes on retreat, they want loneliness, they want isolation, they're looking forward to it. They're like, oh yes, I'm going to be alone for a month or so. This is going to be awesome. What do they mean by that? I've been surrounded by so many people for the past 8 months. It's so much. I can't handle it anymore. I'm looking forward to being alone, on my own. This is perceived as really nice. So here loneliness means the isolation from something that is disturbing. And then it is deemed to be good. But then maybe in the case of the questioner, that loneliness that he perceives is being separated from something that he desires. That brings us to one of the core statements that can be made about suffering. What is suffering? Well, suffering is being separated from what you want and being connected to what you don't want. So maybe it's about that. It's not about loneliness, whatever that means. It's not about connection, whatever that means. It's about very specifically being separated from what you want and being disconnected from, being connected from what you don't want to what you don't want. Yes? So I would then further ask myself, what do I want to be connected to? What do I want to be connected with? And so I have to investigate more deeply. What do I really want here? Is it another body in the room? Nah, not necessarily. Is it perhaps attention that I crave? I would like attention. Then I could go on social media, post something, and then get reactions to that post, which perhaps equals attention. But somehow that's not satisfying. It's not enough. I still feel disconnected. I want real connection, not just through a screen. I want real human attention. Why? Why do I want that? Why do I desire human attention? Now you can just finish the debate and say, well, because that's just nature, we just want human attention. I want to go a little bit deeper than that, though. I'm wondering, why do I want that? Why do I desire to be within the attention of another human being that is also in the room with me? And then what kind of attention do I want? Obviously, I do not want negative attention. Like, I'd rather be lonely if the person in the room is looking upon me with disgust, like an enemy. I don't want that kind of attention. What I want is positive attention, good attention. I want someone to look at me with affection. I want someone to appreciate me. Now, why would I want that? Could it be because I need proof that I'm worthy of appreciation? And maybe another person would constitute that proof? It's kind of like feedback. Someone leaving a review for you, telling you that, hey, you're okay. Things are going to be fine. Why would I need someone else to give me that? Would it be enough if I gave that to myself? Would that work? If I gave myself attention, would it be equal to someone else giving me attention? And what would exactly be the difference? If someone else gave me attention, or myself, if I give myself attention, is there a difference? Because both currencies here are attention. Like, if you could print your own money or get the money from someone else, would it make a difference? If you could make your own happiness, or someone else could give you happiness, would you still go the indirect route and get that happiness from someone else's actions? Or would you just simply produce it right here, right now, because it's already there, it's already available? That brings me back to the example of the sun that is blind to itself. And it travels around the universe, the cosmos, and all it sees is just empty, dark space. That's all it sees, darkness. And one day it sees the moon, and the moon has this beautiful light. And so the sun gets very dependent on the moon, gets very attached to the moon. It likes the moon because it has this beautiful light. That means the sun is blind to itself. It doesn't understand where that light comes from, so it gets attached to the object. But what if the sun knew that itself is the source of light? Would it still require the moon for the same exchange, the same feeling? Because you're in the middle of the very thing that you like, which is light. You are that light that you want. And so maybe it's a similar situation with loneliness. You feel that it is someone else that gives you something, whatever that is, you have to figure this out for yourself. What if that very quality that you want from the other person is already within yourself? And so this is where I see the opportunity of loneliness. It's an opportunity for wisdom to arise, an opportunity for understanding to arise, an opportunity to find yourself, an opportunity for true independence, meaning we don't have to go through life in a business type of way, using others to feel good myself, which is the usual kind of way we interact with one another. You give me what I want, I like you. You give me what I don't want, I reject you. And so feeling lonely could be another form of that kind of business. I want others to give me what I think I lack. And if they could give me that, that feeling of loneliness would end. So in the end, we all have to kind of sit down and explore that. And that's where I see the opportunity. Whatever suffering comes your way in life, it's an opportunity to understand yourself better. It's an opportunity to understand is an opportunity to understand not only the suffering that you experience, but also potentially the end of that suffering. And with that, a new level of happiness. Because happiness is simply the ending of a suffering. It's the ending of a problem. So if loneliness is the problem, that loneliness is coming to you not to bother you, it's coming to you to ask really good questions to help you progress, to evolve. Maybe it's a better way to think of a problem, such as loneliness, than to simply say, loneliness equals bad, must get rid of. I think that's too simple. Not simple, too dull. Just to deal with life's experiences as either good or bad, rather than putting them into the context of growth, of possibilities, of the arising of wisdom, the arising of qualities that are good. So every darkness that comes to visit you hides a light in itself. And every darkness, therefore, is asking the question, do you want to dig in and come in deep enough to discover the light that I'm hiding? And that's the opportunity here. And in order to understand your particular problem here, maybe in this case it would be loneliness, you really have to stop escaping it. You have to be willing to be with it, to understand it, to look at it, to ask all the right questions, to ask good questions. What is this? Why is this? What is causing this exactly? You have to be very thorough. It's not enough to just sit down and think a bit about it. Your thinking has to be empowered. And an empowered type of thinking comes from stillness. It comes from the practice of meditation. One reason why we still the mind, why we practice meditation, is so that you have a powerful engine that can actually solve your problems. If you don't have that powerful engine, you're just going to have a confused, dull mind that you cannot use for anything. It'll just be stuck on the level of, I want to be comfortable and I want to get rid of discomfort, and that's that. And it's going to do this impulsively, meaning without any awareness, without any consciousness. no clarity about it. So we're just stumbling around in the dark, trying to solve our problems by escaping them, managing them. And I mean, the result of those efforts can be seen in the history of humankind. It's not successful in solving the fundamental problem of suffering, is it? Like we're just circling around the same problems over and over and over and over again throughout history. We're bashing each other's heads in, blaming the other, blaming the outside, constantly. If that doesn't change, things won't change. And the reason why this doesn't change is because we have such a low resolution approach to solving our problems, because we don't pay attention to them. We don't pay attention to our suffering. So it keeps repeating. It's fairly obvious. It doesn't require a genius to know that. So our suffering, where does it come from? Well, it comes from us. It comes from me. That's where it's experienced, isn't it? You're not experiencing your suffering in your water bottle or in the door that's behind you. If that was the case, if the suffering you feel was in the water bottle, then all you need to do is just get rid of the water bottle and your problems are solved. But it doesn't matter where you are, there you are. And there is your suffering, there are your problems. As long as we avoid looking at ourselves, these problems just keep coming with us like a shadow. Or as the Buddha puts it in the Dhammapada, in the first verse of it, like the wheels of the cart that follow the hoof of the ox. Like a heavy thing that we're dragging around with us. So yeah, there it is. There is your particular challenge. And he said it. It's been with him throughout his entire life. So perhaps now he finds himself at a time where he is finally tired enough of that particular problem to really start paying attention to it. And that, I think, is great. So that reveals why, to me, suffering can be a blessing. Now he's reaching out. Now he's beginning to wonder, to ask questions, to become curious, to finally be ready to dive into that shadow to find the light that is hidden inside of it. To me, that is great. Now, all he needs to do is associate with people, with teachings, with circumstances that would support that journey. He could now associate with other people that just teach him to get drunk and to just, dull away that feeling of loneliness, and it will appear efficient. He could just surround himself with distractions and it could appear efficient, but I feel that he's been there, done that. So he's starting to ask better questions rather than, let me repeat the things that I've done so far and that haven't really worked. What's the good in that? I've done that 20, 30, hundreds of times. Doesn't work. Why would I continue doing it? I need to do it in a better way because I really want to solve this problem. Now that's where the opposite of isolation, the opposite of loneliness comes in. It is association with the causes that end suffering, which is wise friends, good company, something that is uplifting you, reading the right kind of books, watching the right kind of teachings and podcasts. Get your mind enriched with better information. And that better information always comes from our environment. It isn't generated by myself. So in order to transcend our problems, such as loneliness, we need company and we need connection that helps us to overcome our suffering. And to me that constitutes meaningful connection. It is an uplifting kind of connection, a good connection. And that is worthwhile, that is necessary. Human beings need good connection. We all need that. Because all the information that's up there in your head, all the thoughts you have about yourself or the world, come from outside. They come from your upbringing, parenting, culture, and the media you consume and so on. All that fills your head with stuff. Fill it with better things then. Associate with good information, uplifting things. Things that lead to wisdom, that lead to morality, that lead to stillness. All of that. So to me, the pros of loneliness are the same pros of suffering. It serves you as a teacher. It's not there to hurt you or harm you. It's there to teach you something. What are the cons? The cons of loneliness is, I would say, that you are the only one that's in your head. And your ego, yourself, is the only person that influences you, which would doom you to a never-ending cycle of yourself. It is yourself producing yourself. What do we expect from that? Just more of the same self. If it is the lonely self that tries to solve its lonely self, if it is anger that is trying to solve anger, fear that's trying to solve fear, you're just stuck in a cycle of fear, anger, or loneliness. So that's why we need input, we need connection. We need to reach out to things that break our cycles. And that's what connection is for. This is what is a good, meaningful connection that actually leads to an evolution. Everything else, if I'm responsible for myself and if I'm hanging out only with myself ever, then yeah, well, what will I expect? I'll just stay myself. So that's the con of loneliness, I would say, on a very superficial level. It's just about connecting to the right things to get out of our cycles. Connection is not necessarily good. Neither is it necessarily bad. It depends. You might just connect to a group of people that share each other's loneliness stories over and over again. Maybe that's also not very helpful. Then maybe you can feel justified in being lonely. Hey, cool, I'm lonely and others are lonely too. That makes me feel less alone in being lonely. But the problem isn't really solved here. It's just grown a bit. It's spread out. And probably, if you sit down and you think carefully, and you spend your time with it, analyzing yourself, analyzing your feelings in presence, and from the basis of meditation, you will find many more pros and cons for yourself. I'm not here to just give you the blueprint or the plan as to how exactly you should work. I'm here to encourage your own ability to investigate and to look deeply. Figure it out for yourself because you can. You have wisdom, you have compassion, you have kindness. Make use of it. Well, good. All right. It was nice hanging out with you today. Thanks for coming. Hope you have a nice day, and see some of you back on Thursday.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and had a meaningful time. For more information and upcoming events, head over to our website at phuket-meditation.com. Thank you very much for listening, and have a wonderful day.